Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest in this segment is Tyron Docherty. He's the CEO of Deerhorn Metals. Tyron, thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be there. Thank you very much, James, for having me. And just a slight correction, it's Deerhorn Capital.
Sorry, Deerhorn Capital. Tyron, tell me, what is Deerhorn Capital up to these days?
Well, we're just in the process of looking to do some exploration on our advanced property in British Columbia. It's polymetallic. The main area that we're looking at is gold, silver with tellurium. We have some other interesting showings of other metals like copper and on the property, but our 43101 and our PEA that we did 5 years ago was concentrating on this very high-grade gold, silver, tellurium property that is very, very exciting indeed.
Sure. What's tellurium?
Tellurium is a green metal, if you will. It's probably the 8th or 9th rarest metal in the world. And historically, it's been very important for solar panels. You've got First Solar down in the States that uses cadmium telluride. And there's not a lot of supply in the world. And we're one of the few that has the in-situ with the gold and silver. A lot of the tellurium that's provided to solar panels is an offshoot of copper slag. This is actually tellurium that's mixed in with the minerals.
Interesting. So then, is this primarily a tellurium play or primarily a copper gold play?
It's primarily a gold-silver play. The tellurium makes up about 5 to 10% of the value. However, that's what distinguishes us from everyone else that has, a good little copper property or gold-silver property, is that because tellurium is in such short supply, the people that need it will certainly help advance us going forward because they're going to need to get a hold of it for the future.
Interesting. So what is the exploration game plan for the next 12 months going forward?
Well, I'm just waiting for a PEA to get finished here in the next couple of weeks. We're getting an updated one that we had done in 2013. But I anticipate that what's going to happen is we'll spend probably $2.5 to $3 million doing infill drilling as well as extend the known zone and bring the reserves up to a place where we can then go for a bankable feasibility study and hopefully get this thing into production in the next 2 or 3 years.
Right. Now, Tyron, I think it would be disingenuous of me not to disclose that I have made money with you in the past. So let's talk about your former role. You actually had to leave the chairmanship of Mason Graphite in order to do this.
Yes, I was chairman of Mason. I was director of Mason since they went public in October of 2012. And in March of 2018, about 2 months ago, I stepped down to focus mainly on this operation here with Deerhorn, but also I think I left the Mason Graphite in good stead because it's going forward with all the permitting, and I expect that most of your viewers will know that if Mason Graphite is not the finest graphite property in the world, it's certainly in the top 2, and they should be in production in the next 18 months. So I don't have the technical background as a geologist or an engineer, so my job is to find properties and help tell the story. As a matter of fact, as you know, James, the Mason Graphite property was my discovery in a previous company called Quinto Mining that we ended up selling in 2008 based on our iron ore. So I, for some reason, have the ability to find very, very good properties, and I like to surround myself with good people. So obviously, I'm still a shareholder of Mason. And they've gone with a totally francophone board now, which is very good. It's very important politically there in Quebec. So I know it's going to do very, very well. And I expect that Deerhorn will have a similar good faith in the not too distant future.
Sure. So the PEA is an update from the 2013 one. Are you anticipating it to be sort of more valuable than the one that was issued in 2013?
Well, yeah, that's what we anticipate. There's been a few differences, and first of all, the headline that we put out in our news release, which got my wrist slapped by the commission, is we refer to it as robust economics. And when the commission called me on it, I said, well, by the way, it's not me coming up with that word. It's actually the engineering firm themselves that described it as robust. So once I provided that information to the commission, they sort of said, okay, well, just don't do it again. So basically, why it was considered robust is that the engineering firm described as a 2.4-year payback. And that was based on $1,500 gold and $20 silver. So logically, you say, well, we're at $1,300 gold and 16 silver. The economics should be worse. But in actual fact, the economics apparently are better because when they did the PA 5 years ago, the Canadian dollar was basically at par. So you look at the 30% improvement in economics just for the exchange rate. So I don't know what it's going to be. But I know that when we asked the engineering firm to have a look at it, they seem quite excited. And as a matter of fact, the Moose Mountain Engineering who's doing it, Tracy Mendez, said, he'd like to go anywhere and tell people how good it is because he said it's one of the top PEAs he's ever done in his life, and he's done 1,000 of them. So he seems pretty excited about it.
Huh, fantastic. So when do you anticipate drilling to get underway?
Well, we put in our permit, so we anticipate we're probably looking at mid-August to get going, mid to late August, which is usually online. We do it there because historically where we're up there, not too far from Smithers, it's a high snow area. So, you'd be very lucky to get in there before July 1st anyways. And you normally earmark the end of July to early August to start getting things going.
Mm-hmm. And how many other active tellurium exploration projects are there, or gold-silver projects that have tellurium as a component?
Well, I don't know of anyone that has a specific exploration for tellurium because it is rare and there's not a lot of it out there. I've seen some headlines where people happen to mention they've got tellurium or other things as well, but it's certainly not the same fervor that it was back in 2010 when tellurium reached the heights of, I think it was like $400 a kilogram. So everyone and his dog who had a sniff of tellurium was out there telling people they had it. So the price is back down in the last 5 years to average about $125 to $150 US a kilogram, which is very good, especially when it's not the main metal that you're going for. To put things in perspective, back in the 80s, tellurium was worth somewhere between $5 to $10 a kilogram, because obviously, the need in solar panels didn't exist. So these are all new industries that are coming forward, and there is some research being done in batteries for tellurium. So there's a lot of upside to it. And just to put in perspective, as I mentioned, First Solar is certainly the biggest solar company in the world, and they use tellurium. At a minor metals conference in 2012, they actually in Cologne, Germany, they were co-sponsored the event, and they did a PowerPoint, and they talked about the 4 potential suppliers down the road of tellurium. And they mentioned a property in China, a property in Mexico, a property in Sweden, which is owned by Boliden, who trade on Toronto, a gold company, and Deerhorn. So, you get singled out by an industry giant. It certainly makes you feel good. And they did say at the conference, which was attended by my chairman, that they didn't have a lot of confidence in the Chinese property or the Mexican property. So, you eliminate 2 out of the 4, you're certainly in good company. And about 16 to 18 months after that conference in Cologne, Germany, Boliden sold their tellurium reserves to another company other than First Solar. So if you take that off the picture, it certainly leaves Deerhorn in an enviable position.
That's awesome. Tyron, we're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in a quarter's time. Thanks for joining me today.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, James.